I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about tonight, which is basically the last class of the year. On Saturday, I'm doing an intention setting, so that's not really a typical Dharma class. And I always think see, this is what's funny about these types of these dates or occasions, that there should be some special type of talk, almost like summing up the year or creating a scenario for the new year. And that's just what the mind does. It doesn't matter what it is. It just doesn't matter. But our minds tend to work that way, trying to get into some kind of should be a particular thing. And instead, I was just kind of reflecting on the meditation instructions that I've been offering the last few days, and that I offered this evening, about being open, spacious, receptive, don't know mind. That don't know mind is where we really are willing to let go of our preconceived ideas about everything and just say, I don't know. I did it a few days ago, I think, for the first time in the morning, and there was some time during the day I had some thought that had lodged, and I was trying to figure something out. And this stuff just sneaks up on us, and I all of a sudden noticed that I was trying to figure something out, and the phrase came into my head, don't know. And it just went poof and disappeared, and I'm like, oh, that's pleasant, because all that attachment and constriction also dissipated with it. And so there was this openness and this spaciousness. And it's not that that happens every time, but that is what we're creating, the ground for that to be present, that openness, that spaciousness, by this willingness to continually release our hold on things, our hold on ideas, our hold on the future, our hold on the past. And it's really quite lovely. There can be a bit of joy in there, which is one of the factors of enlightenment. Joy in that moment. And so that I think is an important piece of what we're doing. And then the other day, I think it was yesterday, the phrase "rest in being" came to my mind. And that is, I first heard that phrase over 15 years ago, when I did the Year to Live group. When I was taking the Year to Live group as a participant, and there's Stephen Levine in the book has a meditation, rest in being, and basically it means to, same thing, let go of our ideas, let go of our preconceived notions about things, shoulds and coulds and woulds, and just be with the experience of the moment. And I remember it came in really handy, or it was so beneficial for me. I was overseas the year I was doing Year to Live, and I was in Syria doing archaeology, and it was really challenging. I didn't want to be there. I did not want to be there. It was the hardest thing in the world to be there, and I struggled. And so when I would do this meditation, this rest in being, the practice was to let go of that I hate, I don't wanna, and just release it. And in fact, he couples it, or I've coupled it in my mind, with another practice in the book, this original face meditation, which is basically, what are you before the world got its hands on you? I don't think that's what he says, but that's my understanding of it. The stories and the conditions that color our view of the world, that color our outlook, let all of that go and rest in just being. And resting in being is just being present to this moment, being present to the experience that's right here. And last night, I mentioned before that I went to a show at this little theater, Social Distortion, who is one of my favorite bands in the whole wide world. I've been a huge fan of theirs for many years. I've seen them. I think I've seen them more than I've seen any other performer so many times because they're LA bands, so and they play a lot, so it's easy to see them. And I was standing in the theater last night, and there was nothing going through my mind except there was this, all of a sudden I noticed there was this sense of joy, this sense of this real pleasant experience that I was having. I was just the people, there was no, it was before the show started, and just the throngs of people and the milling about and the talking and the lights and the this, and I was just being. I was just being and aware of the pleasantness, no attachment to should or could or would. And I noticed it and I went, oh, pay attention to this, Mary. Be with it, because it's going to go away. I'm going to get attached to something at some point. Like the 6'5" person who stands in front of you or whatever. But anyway, but just in that moment, be. And that's that I really truly attribute to this practice and this willingness and this habit of mind of letting go, of noticing the sensations of the moment and staying with them, whatever they are, not thinking, just being. And it's so easy to get lost in thought. That's how we walk through the world, thinking about things. And I heard this many, many years ago. Some woman said it and I loved it. It's like when I think about the future, all those stories about the future, I'm just making it all up anyway. I'm just making it all up, but it can have such an emotional impact. I had lunch with a girlfriend today who I hadn't seen in a while, and she just kind of walked away from a field that she'd been working in for 20 years and is stepping out into something that is quite unsure right now. And she says, I'm not actually afraid, because she's in the moment. And she's like, right now, everything is fine. Right now, things are just as they should be. And there's no fear. And we were talking about how actually all we get to see is what's in front of our face, like that next step. But the mind wants to see the whole path. If I'm on a journey somewhere, like I have a goal in mind, or I would hope I have a dream about something, I want to know exactly how to get there. It doesn't mean we don't plan, doesn't mean we don't have a sense of where we're going, but what's clear is what's right in front of us. And then we take that step, and then we're present in that, and then the next step appears. It's that's been my experience, and because everything else is just made up. And it becomes problematic if we have this really rigid idea of should, and it's got to be. And then we start walking down that path, and then reality gets in the way. And we're holding on and holding on and holding on. And reality's like, turn to the left, turn to the left, or turn to the right, turn to the right. And I'm like, no, I got to go over here. I got to go straight. I got to go straight. And that's when it's so uncomfortable and so unpleasant. And that's the invitation to let go and release. And what's important in this is willingness, willingness to stay present, to stay with what's here, the willingness to return when we have come enmeshed in something, really willing to let go of our most cherished ideas, our most precious ideas. It's supposed to be this way, but it's not. Can you release that should? That's where so much pain comes, the aversion to reality. Or the first arrow is when there's discomfort, and then the second and third and fourth arrow is when we argue with this and need to know all about it and figure it out. And instead, the invitation is just be. Let go of the precious ideas, because that's just a form of attachment. And it's a form of not willing to be with the present. That's a form of aversion. That's the Buddha's like aversion, attachment, greed, hatred. Let go, let go, let go. So another thing we have to do, and there's the willingness, but there's also the we need to make sure we guard our sense doors. And this is sense doors. I have to say that slowly because for the longest time when I first heard it, I thought it was sense stores, like stores. It's doors, the doors through which our experience enters. And it's pretty much the typical five senses plus in Buddhism thought. So it's sound, it's smell, it's taste, it's physical sensation, touch, it's did I get all five? Smell and thought, because thought obviously has a tremendous impact on us. And there's one of the Sutta Buddha talks about this type of thing a lot, but in one of the suttas, it says Sariputta, one of the Buddha's attendants, is talking to someone about how to guard the sense doors. And he says, when someone sees a sight with the eyes, they don't get caught up in the features and details. If the faculty of sight were left unrestrained, unskillful qualities of desire and aversion would become overwhelming. For this reason, they practice restraint, protecting the faculty of sight and achieving restraint. So and the same thing with sound, with smell, with taste, with touch, just let sound be sound, sight be sight without creating the story around it. That's resting in being. And that's such an important thing, because if you notice, this is very apparent in meditation. If there's a sound like the phone ring, I apologize, the phone rang during meditation, or oftentimes with a siren going by, whatever it is, the mind hears that, identifies it, labels it, and then determines a meaning, oftentimes gives it a meaning. That happens with smell, that happens with sight, sound, most often with thought. A thought shows up. A lot of times they just kind of ramble through because most of the things are neither pleasant or unpleasant. They're just rambling by because the mind just is constantly whirling around. But that's where we get caught up. A memory, a smell, a sound that reminds us of something or that we think is something, and then we get all caught up. And when we're not paying attention, we're not practicing being fully present, we get caught up, we get lost. And as the sutta said, unskillful qualities of desire and aversion become overwhelming. So there's the practice of being, letting go, restraint. This not going out and grasping, but this practice of receptivity, not labeling and figuring out, just being open, and this clarity. This is where the don't know mind is, not labeling everything. Oh, this is this, and this is this, and this is that, because half the time we don't know. It's just assumptions based on our experiences, not necessarily on reality. I talked about this a few weeks ago. So it's important to just really be fully aware. Thich Nhat Hanh also talks about this guarding of the sense doors, and he talks about it. He talks about it. It's the fifth precept, but they call them mindfulness trainings. And in the fifth mindfulness training, which in the precepts, the standard precepts are not to ingest any intoxicants that would lead to heedlessness. And I've talked about this before because he's so thorough in inviting us to be aware. He said, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical, mental for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, consuming. I vow to ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I am determined not to use alcohol or any other intoxicant or to ingest foods or other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. This was written before the boom of social media, so I would throw social media in there. I am aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will vow to, I will vow to, I will vow to, I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. This proper diet, the diet of whatever we ingest, is crucial for self-transformation and for the transformation of society. So this, watch what you consume, smelling, seeing, primarily the eyes, the ears. Watch what you listen, watch what you read, watch what you think, watch what you ingest bodily, garbage in, garbage out. That's the guarding of the sense doors, but he expands on it so beautifully that it lands perfectly for where we live in this time, because there's so much to consume in this consumer society. We live in a consumer society, so there's so much offered to us or force-fed us, and we do so much of it mindlessly. We hear something, oh, somebody said that, so then that becomes a fact. But is it really? Don't know mind. Practice that. Is this, what is this? What is this? Don't just blindly ingest things. Really pay attention. So that's, this guarding of the sense doors is really important for this ability to be present and not just get activated by everything that comes down the road. Just let smell be smell, let sound be sound, let thought be thought, and practice. This is where the wisdom aspect of this practice comes in, this sense of discernment as well. What is actually happening? But to get to that place, you have to be able to be present, which is where the rest in being is so helpful. We release the attachments, the shoulds, the if onlys, the what ifs, the have tos, the nevers, and be present for the experience. What is this? What is this? That's the inquiry, the piece of investigation that comes with the, again, part of the factors of awakening, this investigation, this mindfulness, this investigation, this effort. So important. And it's so helpful at this time of year because we do have that. We're in this traditional time of making resolutions, and a lot of times the resolutions have a flavor of judgment. Something's not good enough and we need to make it better. And so I don't do resolutions because, I used to as a kid because I was really unhappy in a lot of things. And so I would make these grandiose plans to change them, and they never lasted, 3 days. And then you're a failure. Not really, but in your mind, in my mind. And so that just leads to that sense of discomfort and unease with the way things should be. And instead, I really love the invitation to intention. The invitation to set your, chart your course in a direction, the inclining of the mind towards a specific place, not necessarily a particular goal, although goals are fine. As I spoke about a few moments ago, goals are fine, but watch the attachment to the outcome of the actions. Head in a particular direction. That's what I was talking to my girlfriend today about, this, we need to walk in a particular direction. I kind of have a hazy idea. Some people know what they want to do. They have this thing, but again, watching that attachment, but just moving in a way of, I want to live in a way that doesn't cause harm. I want to become, in 2020, my intention was to become more comfortable with impermanence. And then the pandemic happened. I'm like, wow, okay, let's become uncomfortable with impermanence. Um, you know, and so just set this intention. And it should be kind, it should be gentle, it shouldn't be judgy. Judgy is not helpful at all. The discernment about maybe this is unskillful, maybe this behavior is unwise, maybe I'm not guarding my sense doors, maybe I need to guard my sense doors a little better, maybe I should, this is causing suffering, so maybe I can let go of this, causing, you know, uncomfortability, discomfort, maybe I can let go of this. So it's a way of moving through the world that ends our suffering, ends the discontent, the unskillful behavior, unskillful actions, and moves us in a way that's more wholesome, more skillful, more kind, more compassionate, whatever it looks like. And recognize we only have the step that's in front of us. And so take the wholesome step when it's presented. Keep walking in that wholesome direction. I find that to be such an important groundwork for whatever we do in the world, because if that wholesome, skillful, kind, compassionate road is the road we walk on, it's going to take us in a wise direction in whatever we're doing. When we're faced with those choices, it's like, what's the wise choice to take? Not always that easy, of course, in the moment, but we have this foundation that's really, really, really beneficial. So recognizing that, yeah. So this is the gist of resting and being. It's such an important aspect of how we move through the world. This ability to just be, this ability to be receptive, this ability to release the preconceived ideas about everything, don't know mind, which allows for us to be fully present, fully in our bodies, fully responsive appropriately. This practice gets us to this place of equanimity, appropriate response to whatever's present. So I invite you to reflect on what gets in your way. That's always a helpful place to start. What gets in the way of being fully present? What's a challenge to let go of or let be? And what judgments are there about yourself, doubts? These are always helpful questions to reflect on that can sometimes allow you to move in a wise way, move in a way that's skillful and kind. So those are my thoughts, my friends. I really appreciate your kind attention and hope this has been helpful in some way.